morning, everyone. My name is Shin, and it's such an honor to be here. And thank you very much for inviting me to present on behalf of World Bank Group's Digital and AI BPU strategy and project pipelines for this year. Over the next 20 minutes, around 15 to 20 minutes, and I'm going to walk you through our vision's priorities and some of the examples that you might think how digital transformation is driving development impact across the globe. So I'm not going to go detail because I'm sure some of the colleagues from the World Bank is going to also talk about our vision. So there are three main pillars that we always highlight. One is end extreme poverty, and the boost shared prosperity, and the last one is on a livable planet. So our work spans access to water, sanitation, food securities, and preserving ecosystem, all underpinned by commitment to sustainable development, which is very important topics at the moment. And at the Digital BPU, we have some very top priority. Of course, this is a more sectoral approach, and which are infrastructure, energy, and agribusiness, which is related to agriculture, and health, and manufacturing, and then lastly, tourism. So these are the top priority, and we are trying to think how this AI and digital transformation can align with these sectors. And with that, we have very clear strategy. This is not a bank per se, but this is very focusing on digital and AI new vice presidency to connect all the people and government and enterprises, ensuring access to affordable devices and services, especially for bottom 40%. We focus on bridging the digital divide, particularly the rise of AI, and emphasize digital safeguard, which is security and data protections and online safety. As you can see with the names, our new vice presidency called and data and AI, digital and AI. So you can see how AI becomes important at the bank, of course, with the client countries. And we have four key focuses, which is access, which is also named as infrastructures, like data centers and so on, and public infrastructure and services, which is also called DPI, and digital applications, which is more focusing on sectoral basis, and then lastly, data and AI. This is also involved with data protections and responsible AI, and use of AI. And many people ask how big is the portfolio look like, how many projects are ongoing, and overall, we have 78 projects in this year. Of course, the amount is very different. We have the billions of dollars that involving in different sectors, and one of the key takeaway is we heavily involved in African countries, as you can see our portfolio. And I think this kind of signals a lot on what are our priority and how we work together with these different regions. And a lot of colleagues ask, what do you guys really do? We understand the missions and what do you guys do, very high level, but they don't really understand what are the things we really do it. So before highlight a few examples of our work, we have recently launched Digital Progress Trend Report, which highlights importance of 4 Cs, which are connectivity, which is also known as digital infrastructure, and compute, AI chips, data center, etc. Context, which is also referenced as data, and competencies and skills. And then lastly, responsible use. With this element, we try our best to be more inclusive and effective AI ecosystem. So this kind of aligns with some of our concerns and challenges, how the governments and lower LMIC are facing challenges these days. Because sometimes they don't have a data which align with the context, and they don't have people to actually work on it. Even though we provide fancy AI work, some of the generative AI work, it's not really sustainable because they don't understand how to maintain, how to protect their data, and how do we prevent the hallucinated data itself. And I'm sure this is going to kind of result a lot of misunderstanding, and especially their countries. So this is kind of key element we always think this is the right path. This is really helping client countries to use the right use of AI. And to begin with, since I kind of mentioned about connectivity is one of the main elements, and this is one of our flagship project, Mission 300. So nearly 600 million people in sub-Saharan Africa is facing challenging in terms of electricity and hindering development and quality of life. So basically, they don't have electricity to do the use or to leverage any of digital solutions such as AI and so on. So our objective is to connect people in Africa to use electricity by 2030, 250 million through our project, and 50 million by African Development Bank effort. So by having collaboration with other development bank, we try our best to be more inclusive and bringing more digital solution across this area. And there are examples in different regions, of course. And this is one of the examples in the health sector. Of course, our BPU is not doing alone. The critical part is we always collaborate with the sectoral expertise, who has sectoral expertise at the bank. And this was one of the collaborations that we did, and this is leading by the health GP. And this is very interesting because I think this can also be applied into different countries, especially low middle income countries. And most of the hospital, they don't even have any data or any system that can build it. And this is one of the examples that how this AI can help to trace the data at the same time do any sort of data analytics. Of course, there are other sector examples that are similar to each other, but I think this is a big signal that the AI can be anywhere, and the AI can be accessible to in different places. And this is also one of the examples that Kenya is doing in agriculture. And not only this, the single use cases, there are like multiple examples that is doing, helping to leverage AI. For example, these days, it is clear that it is different technology. There is era of convergence. So different technology comes together and it shaped it new solution by dancing together with the AI. For example, when it comes to agriculture, you collect the data through the IoT devices or blockchain solutions, and then once we aggregate all the data and we bring it to the machine to digest, to do any AI solution or applications. So there are different use cases, as you can see. I'm not going into detail because it's already shared already. And with the interest of time, And this is an example that also can be used in education. And as it was mentioned earlier, there's a lot of use on LLMs, large language models, and this was to help teacher and student to learn. And of course, these days, I had a chance to talk with some of the colleagues in Africa, and I heard lots of kids in Africa is trying to learn coding through LLMs like ChatGPT to understand what can be done in their curriculum at the same time to learn about new tech. For example, they go to YouTube or they just go into GPT to how to build applications and so on. And it kind of guides you to understand what are the key steps they need to follow. And this is one of the examples that how this can be done in education sector. And of course, this is one of the examples that how we related to the refugees and how the AI can help them to use of predictions of forced displacement. And since this is emerging technologies sessions, and I also wanted to kind of bring in other technologies too. And this is one of the examples that I'm leading in at the bank. And we are also doing some kind of small pilot with the government of Madagascar, trying to help farmers to get an e-voucher system, which is based on the blockchain. And together with the Korean vendor, we try to establish the system to help how the farmers can easily get the voucher in a very simple manner. Of course, this can be done with a very complicated apps or fancy application, but our main focus is try to come up with a very simple approach, and with a simple app, with a simple language, so that all the farmers can easily get the benefit of the e-voucher. So this is one example, and there's another things that I wanted to highlight. I also had a privilege to author one of the papers that I recently launched. This is called AI for Risk-Based Provision, and another nice to have the tool or game changer. As you can see the title, you can think about AI seems very fancy. However, does it really need it? Are we really ready for this? Or are we really just obsessed with the buzzword that is going on in the outside of the world? So I had a chance to work with the government of Indonesia and Peru and so on. Many of the government authorities, they didn't even have a data, and they don't even have a people to maintain the system itself. And we wanted to highlight that AI is not a panacea for everything. It's all about understanding the problems and challenges in a wide manner and right path. Of course, at the bank, we try to do design thinking process, try to understand the scope in a coherent manner. However, even though we prepare, some people don't even want to have this kind of process because they just want to fancy things instead of understanding a clear picture. So many of times, they don't even have a challenge statement when they begin. So this is something that I wanted to highlight in these papers, that it talks about what are the key things in terms of having a AI system itself. Of course, it depends on the data-centric governance and people and so on. As we can see, 4 C's, as I mentioned earlier. This paper kind of talks about overarching, is it really needed? Or what are the best examples that we can follow? And with that, I want to close it with our president's sayings. So of course, digital is the glue that holds our development efforts together. Our president said we must borrow best practice, share knowledge, and focus on execution. And innovation is about our impact at scale and not novelty for its own sake. And as we embrace AI, we must ensure it works for everyone with the right guardrails to prevent deepening inequalities. Of course, this sounds very big, but what we're trying to do is, without having big AI, now we also talk about small AI. So we are trying our best to kind of understand what are the best fit for in each of the governments or contexts. So this is one of the key takeaways that I learned at the bank and wanted to highlight. Thank you very much for the listening, and please let me know if you have any questions, and if you want to work with us, just let me know. Thank you.